Horizontal and vertical lines. So for horizontal lines, these are always in the form of y equals a number. And basically what that means is that since you are missing, because the equation does not have an x variable, it doesn't depend on x. So no matter what value x is, y's will always be the same. No matter what x is, the y's in this case are always 5. So if we take a minute and try to graph y equals 5, that's usually on the 5 right on the axis. But that's not the only coordinate that has y of 5. So this would be 0, 5. This coordinate over here also is at -4, 5. And this one over here is at 4, 5. And maybe I have another one here at -2, 5. So if I look at coordinates on this horizontal line, and I notice that all of the y values are 5s, every one of them, no matter what my x's are changing to different values, and my y's are always 5. So when you have a equation that is y equals a number, this creates a horizontal line on whatever number that is. So for vertical lines are always x equals a number. And so the reason why is because these do not have a y variable. So no matter what y is, the x value is always the same. In this case, it's always 5. So if I plot x equals 5 here, that is at 5, 0, and then maybe I can plot this point at 5, 2, and maybe this point at 5, 4, and then maybe this one at 5, -4. If I look at all these coordinates, they all share an x value of 5. Their y's are changing, but the x's are always 5. So horizontal lines are y equals, and these guys have a slope of 0. Horizontal lines are slopes of 0. Vertical lines, the x equals, are undefined slopes. These are undefined slope. Now, here's a way to help you kind of remember 2 acronyms. So we have HOY, H-O-Y, and V-U-X. So for the H-O-Y, notice that I wrote these horizontally. That's what the H stands for. So the H means that you have a horizontal line. So that's left to right. The 0 is to remind you that this has 0 slope. And the y is to help you remember that it's always y equals a number. And so the VUX is the vertical lines. So these are vertical. And this is the U is to help you remember that it has undefined slope. And the X is to help you remember that it's always X equals a number. So vertical lines are always in the form of X equals something, and horizontal lines are always Y equals a number without anything else. So if we look at example 1, graph the equation y equals 3, state the slope and the intercepts. Well, okay, y equals 3. So I know that y equals 3 is definitely right there, for sure. Now, if you can't remember that this is a horizontal line, let's just find some other coordinates that also have a y value of 3. So maybe 2, 3, or 5, 3, or maybe -4, 3. And look what direction this line is going in. This is creating a horizontal line right at a y value of 3. So this is a horizontal line at y equals 3. Now the slope of this line is 0. You can either write the word 0 or you can actually put the number 0. Flat lines have a slope of 0. Now the x-intercept, well, I want to know where does this line cross this axis, and they never will. Those are parallel, so we have no x-intercepts. We're going to write the word none. Be careful not to put a 0 there, because if you tell me that the x-intercept is 0, you're telling me that it crosses the intercept right here. That's where it crosses the axis, which isn't true. So make sure you're not putting 0. Make sure you write the word none if it doesn't have one. A y-intercept is where this line crosses the y-axis, and it's right here, right at 3. So for example 2, graph the equation x equals -2 and state the slope and the intercepts. So we're going to kind of approach this the same way. X equals -2 is definitely right here on the axis, for sure. And if I try to plot some more points that also have x values of -2, what's going to happen? So I may be -2, 2, or -2, 6, or -2, -3, or -2, -5. This is creating a vertical line at the x value of -2. So x equals means a vertical line at x equals -2. Now the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Vertical lines have an undefined slope because you end up dividing by 0, which we're not allowed to do. So for the x-intercept, I want to know where does this line cross this axis, and it's right here at -2. And again, for the y-intercept, where does this line cross this axis? Well, those are parallel to each other, so there is not going to be a y-intercept. There isn't any. So that's how to graph these. Let's talk about how to actually write the equations given a description. So if I look at example 3, what is the equation for the line that passes through 2, 3 and has a slope of 0? So we've kind of done this before, but these are special cases. So I know that this line will pass through 2, 3, and I know that it has a slope of 0. So I'm going to start with the slope. So a slope of 0 means that my line has to be horizontal. Because it's not slanted, because there isn't a numerical slope like 2 or -5 or 1/2, I know it's not going to be in either of these. It's not going to be mx plus b, and it's not going to be the y1, the point slope. Neither one of these is going to work because my slope is not an actual number, it's just 0. So because it's 0, let's see what this looks like. So I'm going to make a little sketch. I'm going to draw the 2, 3. So 2, 3. It should be around there somewhere. And I know that a slope of 0 means that it has to be a flat horizontal line. And if I look at this line, I can kind of see that if I plot points all along this line, my y value never changes from a 3. The x values are changing, but the y's never do. So this means this will be y equals, and then what is the y value is a 3. Horizontal lines are always in the form of y equals a number, every time. So for example 4, what is the equation of the line that has an undefined slope? So there's something important, and passes through -3, 5. So for undefined slopes, this is definitely a special case because it's a vertical line. I definitely cannot substitute an undefined number in for a variable. That definitely doesn't work. So we're going to have to, again, approach this the same way. I'm going to make another sketch, and -3, 5 will fall around here somewhere. So if I try, and I know it has to be vertical because of the fact that it's an undefined slope, and if I look at this, if I can't remember the rule, if I look and I try to think about coordinates all along this line, my x values on this line are always going to be the same. The heights are changing. I have different y values, but the y's always come back, or sorry, the x's always come back to the same number. So this is going to be x equals, and then what is the x value? -3. Horizontal lines are always y equals a number. Vertical lines are always x equals. Pause the video, see if you can try example 5 and 6. And here are your solutions for 5 and 6. Undefined means vertical, so I need to be x equals, and the coordinate that it goes through has an x value of 8. 0 slope means I need to be horizontal, and that means it's a y equals, and the coordinate that it goes through has a y value of 2.